Welcome everyone, and thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to find out a bit more about Fathom's multi-entity functionality. Today, we'll be talking about Fathom's consolidation tools, which quickly aggregate the financial results of your subsidiary entities. But we also offer benchmarking, another fantastic multi-entity feature for franchise groups or perhaps firms who have clients in similar industries and are looking to gain additional insights. If you're interested in benchmarking, I will touch on it in a bit more detail at the end of this presentation, so stay tuned. So many of you might be sitting here wondering, why should I use Fathom's consolidation features? And for most of the firms that I talk to, it really comes down to 2 points. The first being the efficiency that Fathom can offer. So Fathom features a one-click Update My Consolidation button, which pulls the most recent data from your subsidiary companies and aggregates it across source or currency in a really quick and easy way. Fathom Consolidations save firms an average of 14 hours during each consolidated reporting cycle, which really frees up your staff to dig into the numbers to find insights and opportunities. The second piece that's really sort of powerful when you talk about consolidations is the data accuracy, right? Fathom hooks in via an API to your underlying subsidiary companies. You can set Fathom to update once every 24 hours or update those entities on demand, in turn updating the consolidation. And with this, right, it's, you know that the figures in Fathom are up to date. They're recent. You can trust the aggregation that's going on there. Unlike perhaps when you're working in an Excel consolidation, you make a change in Xero and you forget to reflect that change in Excel. And this was a really big benefit that Rawson Property Group, a South African agency who serves around 1,400 agents across 120 franchise offices, you know, this is a benefit that they found. They've saved 170 hours a month just on the admin work that it takes to tick and tie the consolidated figures back to their underlying Xero files. So this has freed their team up to, you know, make suggestions to management and sort of use their time in really new and exciting ways. So, you know, over the next 40 minutes, I'm going to give you hopefully some tricks and tools on how to get the most out of Fathom consolidations and ultimately help you save, you know, 14 hours of time per consolidated reporting cycle. Before we do jump in, a quick introduction. So Fathom was established in 2010 here in Brisbane, Australia. We've now expanded to have offices in Seattle in the US and Cambridge in the UK. And we're trusted by 30,000 organizations worldwide. We have direct API integrations with Xero, MyOb, and QuickBooks. And if you're using a desktop-based accounting program or perhaps one not mentioned, you can import your data with Excel as well, which is fantastic. A bit about me. My name's Alana. I'm a partner consultant here in Brisbane, and my role really sees me working with existing clients, existing firms that already have a relationship with Fathom to get the most out of that tool. So providing training and resources, whether it comes to individual company reporting or multi-entity reporting, which is what we're discussing today. So again, over the next 40 minutes, here's a bit of an agenda for you, but I'm going to walk you all through the creation of a consolidated group, including a deep dive into each of the setting steps. I'll then highlight the additional analysis tools that Fathom consolidated groups receive, and also a few of the key reports and components that will really help streamline your consolidated reporting, and ultimately help you, save, you know, some significant hours and shave those hours off of your consolidation time. So if you're new to Fathom consolidations, I think you're going to be able to really quickly see the benefit to using our tool. And if you're a longtime Fathom user, I think I'll be able to show you some quick tips and tricks to sort of deepen your efficiencies gained with Fathom. Before I pop into the product and walk you guys through the setup and creation, a few quick facts, just so that you can evaluate whether this functionality will work for you. Fathom allows up to 300 companies in a single group, 50 companies if you have a multi-currency consolidation. This ties nicely into my next point, but Fathom supports 97 of the world's most major currencies. We also allow you to go ahead and define your own exchange rate at the profit and loss and balance sheet level, if that's of interest. We also allow for full account eliminations and detailed adjustments really quickly. And again, something that I love is the ability to consolidate data across source. So if you're AU and New Zealand companies, maybe they're hosted on Xero and you've got a foreign entity that you host on a desktop software, you can import those results with Excel, connect to Xero, and aggregate those results really quickly. All right, I'm going to jump into the product now. All right, so let's jump into the product and actually walk through the steps of creating a consolidated group. For today's session, I'm going to assume that you all sort of have a baseline understanding of Fathom and the way it works. But if you don't, or you're looking for resources that are maybe a little bit more basic than this webinar, please don't hesitate to get in touch. We're here to help, and we love to send you things that are relevant to your situation and your use case. All right, so I'm here on the My Companies page, or the home page of Fathom. And what I can do here, right, is add a company to make sure that I've got all of those subsidiary entities that I want to consolidate, to make sure that I've got those connected to Fathom. I can add a consolidated group, or I can access both of the functional areas, so the analysis tools or the reporting tools for an individual company or a consolidated group. And again, I can mess around with those settings as well. So today I'm gonna hit the Add a Group button, and you'll see already I've got an option here for my multi-entity reporting. So I can either click Create a Consolidated Group to create an aggregation of my underlying entities, or I can choose to benchmark these entities if I'm looking to compare and rank them. So today I'm going to consolidate. I'll hit Consolidated. Let's add a nice little title. Maybe I'll call this Consolidated Entities. And what you're seeing here on the left-hand side is a list of all of the connected files I have in Fathom that I can choose to add to this group, so to add to this entity. So I'm just going to go down the list and click to select just a few entities that belong in this aggregation. You'll see the date range of data. It's populated itself here. I can also select a financial year if it's different than the underlying years. Perhaps in this case, I'd like to report on a calendar basis. I can do that here. And then I can actually select a presentation currency. So if your group contains subsidiaries that operate in different functional currencies, say you've got a New Zealand entity, an Aussie entity, and a UK-based entity, you actually have the option here to go ahead and select the presentation currency. We're going to then translate all of the subsidiary results into that dollar. So this is where that multi-currency consolidation piece comes in. Once I'm happy with the way this looks, I can hit Create Group. And just like that, you'll see this group is already ready for analysis or reporting. So what was that? Maybe 10 seconds that it took me to generate some of these results. And of course, we'll go through the settings to make sure they look okay. But I just wanted to quickly give you all an indication of the type of reporting you can do at the consolidated level. So this is going to look very, very similar to the reporting and analysis you do at the individual company level. I've got all of the key KPIs I've set up here. What I can actually do with any of these, right, is drill down. The only difference here is that instead of seeing a single company's results, I'm seeing the aggregation or the consolidation of all of my entities in the group. Perfect. So now that we've got the basic creation of the group set up, I'm going to jump into a few of the settings steps and just walk you through those in detail. Perfect. So you'll see there are 6 setting steps, and these are very similar to the settings in an underlying company. They're designed to be sort of set and forget. You can always come back here and change the way the data is flowing through. So step 1 is where you manage the data for this financial group or this consolidated group. What we can do here is actually identify any of the members of this group. and say we want to go ahead and add a company to the group, we can choose to do that, or remove one from the group. We can do that here. We're also able to play with the presentation currency and the financial year. You'll also see below a really handy date range for your financial data, your budget data, and your non-financial data. This is a really good opportunity to talk about the way our financial data consolidates. So Fathom's going to consolidate your underlying entity's chart of accounts based on account name and account classification. So if you've got a sales account at company A and sales account at company B, and they're spelt identically, those will actually consolidate into a single account line. And we'll get to step 3 in a few minutes. Your budget data is going to aggregate similarly. So at the consolidated level, we're going to aggregate the underlying budgets to give you that consolidated budget versus actual variance reporting ability. And again, it's similar with non-financial data. So if you have added any leading or operational metrics at the underlying entity level, we're going to consolidate those up to the group based on account name or KPI name. Something to note here with any KPI, you're going to want to go ahead and make sure you're utilizing that KPI library. Perfect. The final item I'll point out here in step 1 that's super handy is just this Are My Companies Up to Date report. Going to go ahead and download that, and I'll open it, and you'll see what this report is giving us. It's just a nice little summary of all of the underlying entities in the group, when they were last updated, their own individual financial year, along with any non-financial metrics or budget figures that are flowing through. And finally, you've got a nice little glossary or quick summary of all of the functional currencies in the group that are going to be translated. So if something looks funky or you're having trouble wrangling the settings, this is a really good place to troubleshoot some of those issues. Great. The next step is step 2, the company profile. And here you can do some really cool things. So you can change the consolidated group name. Perhaps the business has changed, or you want to make it sort of stand out or a bit different from the holding or the operating entity. In this case, we could say Vanderlei Incorporated. We can go ahead and add a group logo. So if you want to add a consolidated group logo to white label any of your reports, you can do that here. We can also go ahead and edit the exchange rates and any of the other default rates, including tax, interest, and cost of capital. So editing exchange rates is a fairly new feature in Fathom. And what it does is allows you to override the rate that's flowing in from openrates.com, where Fathom sources our exchange rates. You can override those rates and dictate your own, which is pretty handy if you're looking to do some really specific reporting or conform to past methodologies and reports. So when I open up the editing exchange rate modal, you'll see that I can go ahead and select a financial year. I can also go ahead and actually just directly type and key in any results here. So maybe I want to go ahead and override July's exchange rate with the Great British Pound to be 1.8. I can then see that quickly, I'm able to quickly identify that this rate has been overridden with this blue triangle. When I hover, I get the default rate. I can use this sort of more options, the ellipses menu, to go ahead and reset this rate to default, or to fix a rate for all periods or for a custom period in the future. So let's say we just want to go ahead and fix this rate for all future periods. We can go ahead and do that. So you'll see here, we're not actually fixing rates by accounts, but instead by overall profit and loss and balance sheet methodology. And that's just because on the profit and loss, we use the monthly average exchange rate to translate your financial results and your budget results. And on the balance sheet, we're using the month end, the closing balance period. So that's a really handy little guide, and that's why we allow you to change them at both of those levels. The final piece I'll point out here is just the fact that you can go ahead and upload via Excel to override any of these amounts. So you can actually download a handy import template. I'll just open this up quickly to show you what it looks like. But you'll see you can go ahead and type in your own exchange rates and then quickly import them. So if you've got a significant number of entities in the group, or you're looking to change the rate for a lot of years, this might be a really easy alternative for you. Perfect. The final piece I'll point out here in step 2 of company profile or group profile is just this optional industry classification and group size. These don't affect any reporting within Fathom, but they do give you the ability for your own sort of administrative and tracking purposes to add a little bit of color to the data sitting here. All right, the next step is a pretty foundational one, and this will give you the ability to take a look at your consolidated chart of accounts within Fathom. So what we're looking at, right, is the way we've consolidated these accounts into our consolidated group. Again, we're going to consolidate accounts based on name and classification. So you'll see here, coming from each of my individual entities, I've got different types of sales. Those accounts are still broken out separately. I've got this available for my profit and loss and my balance sheet. And there are a few unique things that I can do here, right? So what we can do is actually scroll along and hit the plus, add a heading. So you can create custom headings and subheadings at the consolidated level to group your accounts, to roll them up or down, to create subtotals, to create variables for use on graphs, the same way you can at the individual company level. So I'm going to go ahead here and name this, loan interest. When I hit apply, you'll see I've got an empty heading, and I can quickly lodge accounts under that heading by just multi-selecting and hitting the move to. I'm now getting a nice subtotal on my profit and loss. The other thing that we can do here, and you might have seen this sort of out of the corner of your eye, is we can actually go ahead and eliminate intercompany activity. So if you do have intercompany loans or revenue because you're doing cost of sales sharing and things like that, we can go ahead and eliminate entire account balances simply by hovering and hitting eliminate. So what happens when I hit this eliminate button is I get a list of the underlying subsidiaries that have this account. So in this case, a print advertising account. And I can go through and actually hit eliminate or restore to remove the entire account balance. So perhaps print advertising isn't the best example, but perhaps our interest expense here is intercompany. I can go ahead and eliminate the entire value coming from DIY industrial. When I hit done and save my changes, I know that that elimination is flowing through for all past and present and future periods for the group. But don't worry, these aren't permanent eliminations. If your circumstances have changed, or perhaps you change the way some of the intercompany items are accounted for, you can come through and actually restore any of those eliminated items. All right, something really handy here that saves you a lot of flipping back and forth, is just the ability to download a preview of your consolidated chart. So I've pulled this report and I'll just walk you through it. We've got each entity broken out in a separate column, right? Where there are multi-currency translations needing to take place, we're getting both of the exchange rates being used. And then when I hover, I get a nice little summary comment telling me how this amount was translated. I then move on to the total before eliminations, and then the debit credit breakout, as well as a consolidated total after eliminations. So this eliminations debit credit breakout is really handy for your audit trail. You can hover and get a comment of which company's balance was eliminated from the total. So you can sort of quickly identify what needs to happen, or perhaps what is happening. And something really handy is here at the bottom, you're able to get a feel or have a sense of whether the consolidated balance sheet is balanced. So you don't need to pop into reporting and export a report. We can actually manage that all here in the settings. So you might be wondering, look, Alana, that's great. I love the ability to eliminate an entire account, but I need to make foreign currency adjustments, or I need to eliminate a partial amount of an account. Fathom can handle that quite well with what we call an Excel eliminations entity. So this works just like a true eliminations company. It sits sort of right under the consolidated group and holds any adjustments that you need it to for all of the underlying subsidiaries. So I'll now walk us through that process. An Excel eliminations entity in Fathom, you've got to start with the Excel template, and that's what I've done here. All you really need to do, right, is define the company name as eliminations or eliminations for XYZ group for your elimination adjustments to flow through to the debit credit columns, and then define a financial year start. But if at any point you need help getting started with the template, or you're not sure whether you've got it all set up correctly, feel free to email us, and we've got the template for this on our website, and we can shoot you through the template for your own use. But essentially, you'll just need to define the accounts that you'd like to adjust, so the chart of accounts you're looking to run adjustments through or eliminate, and then any amount or balances for the given period. So perhaps I want to go ahead and remove maybe 10%, $10,000 from my entertainment amounts. What I can do here is just key in the balance that I'd like to eliminate or adjust. And I can go ahead and drag that out into my additional periods. Once I save this template, I'll then go ahead and pop back into Fathom. And here we'll need to set up a true entity for this company. So we'll hit add a company. We'll select Excel as our source. And here we can choose a file to upload. And I'll upload my eliminations financial results. You'll see this will pop me back to the My Companies page, and I'll actually have a whole new entity called Eliminations. And I'll just want to pop into settings and add this company into my group to go ahead and have those eliminations flow through. So I'm going to hit Manage Group, Eliminations, bring that into the group, hit Save. And now let's take a look at our preview report. So back to step 3, chart of accounts. So I'll download the preview. Perfect. And what do you know? This time, we're actually seeing some of those elimination entities changes come through. So this $10,000 that I wanted to remove from my entertainment account is coming through as a credit, which is perfect. And when I hover, I'm getting a note that it's coming from eliminations. So you'll see that entity is not broken out in a column. Fathom's able to read those numbers and those changes and actually allocate them directly to the eliminations columns, which is really awesome and makes adjusting really easy. So hopefully that was sort of a quick overview of how you can make some of those eliminations or adjusting journal entries in Fathom. If you do have questions, again, feel free to reach out, but hopefully that's enough information to get you started on the eliminations journey. All right, we've got 3 setting steps left. So next we'll take a look at our KPIs. And again, these are coming from our underlying entities. So when we take a look at step 4, what we've got the ability to do here is turn on or off for analysis some of those key metrics and ratios that are flowing through. And these are what's available throughout the analysis tools. Anything, whether inactive or active, is available for use in our consolidated reports. So maybe we'll just have a quick review, and maybe we want to turn on a few of these, and perhaps a few of them aren't as relevant. Once we're happy with the way these look, we'll just hit Save Changes, and we're good to go. When we pop into analysis tools, we know exactly which KPIs will be sitting there calculating at the consolidated level. The next setting step is targets. And targets allow you to go ahead and set a goal against a KPI that you've turned on for the group. So in step 4, we defined those KPIs for the group. We made them active or inactive depending on the group's reporting needs. And here you'll see we can go ahead and set a target, or really a goal figure, a budget figure, that we can then do variance analysis against for the group. So you'll see where applicable, I can actually use my budget to override these values. So from the aggregation of my individual company budgets, I can send those up right there, consolidating to the group, and I can use those to override my target amount. I can either key in the same target each month. So, for the rest of time, I'm targeting my inventory days to be 30 days, or we can pop in and use variable targets. So these just allow us to set targets that can account for seasonality, or perhaps account for a growth rate over time. So what I'm going to do is pop into my inventory days, and maybe I really want to target 28 days. So I can go ahead and use this green arrow here to apply a fixed amount to all future periods, or adjust by days each month. And I'm going to say, let's adjust, let's allow for a growth in our inventory time. Perhaps as the business grows, things slow down a little, of 1 day per month. So we hit apply, and just like that, you'll see that our variable targets have been set. At any point, say we know in November we're going to turn over inventory very quickly, we can go ahead and override these balances and hit save. Perfect. The final setting step is just the ability to set consolidated group alerts, right? These function identically to how they do in the subsidiary company. You're just setting a monthly alert threshold for any of these metrics. If a balance doesn't reach the amount of the threshold, you'll get a notification when you sign in and pop into the analysis tools. So let's set total revenue for the group to be less than 100 million. Alert us if that happens. All right, once we hit save, I'll pop into our analysis tools. And you'll see I'm getting an alert next to revenue. So not only is revenue less than 100 million, it's actually less than our target amount as well. Perfect. So that was a deep dive into the setting steps of the consolidated groups within Fathom. Hopefully that really clears up some of the questions or concerns that you might have. We've worked through all of the setting steps. We've done the hard work. We've laid the foundation. Let's jump in and look at 2 of the extra additional analysis functionalities or features that you get with consolidated groups. And then we'll take a look at some of the additional reports and some of my favorite reporting components for consolidated groups. So let's jump in. You'll see all of your sort of familiar friends in terms of analysis tools down the left-hand navigational bar here. But what I'm going to do is jump into the breakdown tool. This is a tool that's available if you import tracking categories at the individual company level, or if you are working in a consolidated group. And I love this tool to gain quick visual insights about the results of our group, right? The composition and the makeup of that group. So what we're looking at is each of the individual entities down the left-hand side, and then their results graphed in a bar chart form for the given metric that we've selected with the smart text filter here at the top. So we've started with a basic one, right? What does total revenue look like at each of the entities? And we can actually drill in to see how the individual entity, how Vanderlei Coffee Roasters has done for the preceding 12 months. And we're also getting a nice little rolling average summary here. So we can click in. Perhaps we want to go ahead and take a look at a chart of account line item instead. We can totally do that at the consolidated level, which is awesome. So you can select any KPI, any chart of account, or those summary headings and subheadings at the profit and loss and balance sheet. So now maybe we want to take a look at the makeup of our cash and equivalents, sorted A to Z. We can quickly go ahead and do that. So just imagine sitting down with the stakeholders in the business or your client and being able to give them these sort of quick visual insights about the makeup of different amounts in different areas of their business. I love it. I think it's super handy. Again, all of the other analysis tools are available. The results you'll see are just at the consolidated group level. But another fun one to play with is the set of financials. So the financials analysis tool. Here, we can actually show off some of those custom headings and subheadings we created in the settings. So you'll see my sales revenue heading. I've got the individual account breakout here with a subtotal. I can actually click on any of these to see which entities are contributing. But we can actually roll up our headings, collapse them, and you'll see our sales revenue is now a nice little subtotal line. So it just hides some of the noise of our chart of accounts. And again, we can click in to view the breakdown tool, but from the financials, which is really fantastic when you're looking at maybe the cash flow statement. So here, maybe we want to see who's contributing to the largest change in accounts payable for the period. Again, it looks like Vanderlei Industries. We're seeing in green the actual results, and that faint gray bar is the budget. So we're getting some quick, immediate insight. In this case, we were dollar for dollar the same as our budget, which is fantastic. And we can go ahead and actually change that comparative, that gray bar comparative, to be last month or even the same month last year, so we can see how our year-over-year results are looking. So this is really handy. And again, we can do this for any of our financial statements and their different layouts as well, which I think, you're sitting down with the client, you've got the computer open, and you're walking through some of these items together at the consolidated level. It's a really quick way to get some insight and hopefully identify opportunities for the group. Fantastic. What we're going to look at now are some of the consolidated reporting functionalities that are available for groups. So I've popped into the Fathom Report Center for Vanderlei Incorporated, and I'm just going to start here at the bottom. I'm going to start at Excel reports. You've got the full suite of reports at the consolidated group, the same way you do at the individual at the individual entity level. But here you'll notice two additional reports. And these are two of our most popular consolidated reports in Fathom. They're really quick and easy ways to get the data out. And I think you're gonna really find some value here. So what we can do is hit download. And I'm gonna select the financial results for the month of May in a detailed form, but I'm gonna collapse my headings one level. I'm gonna download this report. When I open it, it looks similar to our preview report, but we've just got a bit more control over the date range. So again, we're seeing each of the individual entities as columns, the exchange rate being applied to the financial results on the profit and loss and balance sheet where applicable, the total pre-eliminations, we've got our debit and credit elimination balances flowing through really nicely, and then a consolidated total. So a quick way, you could just generate this report each month. Fathom does all of that work for you. There are formulas here so that you can go ahead and quickly tick and tie or audit the results. And this frees your staff up to perform more analysis-based work, which is, ultimately great for their own professional development and for your firm. The second report here is the same report, but just for the budgets. So this is a fairly new report to Fathom, and I love it. Again, I think it gives you great auditing capacity, great flexibility in terms of ticking and tying budget figures back. So again, for May 2020, we're just viewing the budgets as calculated at the underlying level, as well as the debit credit breakout of eliminations, if there are eliminations running through accounts where we have a budget against them. Fantastic. The final piece I'll highlight are just a few of the items I have saved in my custom template. And if you're not currently using custom templates in Fathom, I definitely recommend getting in touch. You can schedule reports with these templates to generate a draft sort of month over month, notify you with an email. You can share these templates across your firm, and they're just really handy to save time and sort of encourage scalability with your management reporting. So I'm going to go ahead. Yeah, actually what I'm going to do is go ahead and create a draft report for the month of May with my template. When I hit create, I've been kicked into this draft work area. All right, so what you're seeing here in the template is a nice little image that I've used to white label it, some text that I can quickly edit to be more relevant to May's results. So we can go ahead, do that. Maybe we need to go ahead and fix some typos. We then have some key KPI results, and I love these key numbers just for showing sort of quick little snippets of results. These can be added to your results just by popping into charts and dropping and dragging this 1, 2, 3 visual over. You can then edit those by hitting the little pencil here. But where I think Fathom's consolidated reporting really shines is by viewing these breakdowns. So breakdowns by company within the group, or by using pie charts to actually show the composition of certain groups of items. So here I've gone ahead and actually selected the revenue breakdown by company visual. I'll actually just drop and drag another right beneath it, right next to it. Similar to what we did in the analysis tools, I'll just use the pencil here to edit. And we'll see, we don't have to select revenue as the metric. It can actually be any KPI, non-financial formula, or otherwise, any chart of account line item, including some of those custom headings we've created, as well as any of those summary classifications from the P&L and balance sheet. So maybe I want to look at cost of sales on my profit and loss. I'm going to pull that heading. Perfect. I'm actually now, my breakdown's automatically updated. I'm getting the amount of cost of sales from each of those underlying entities for the period. And then we can go ahead and change the color. So this can be any color, sort of on the color wheel. You can brand it to your firm or to the group as well. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and make this a bit smaller. Maybe I want to drop that there. The other visual that I'll highlight here for consolidated reporting is just the pie chart. Again, you can find it on the left-hand content library. Here, where we say revenue mix, we can drop and drag one of these in and use the pencil to edit. You've got the same functionality here as you do with that breakdown tool, but what you're actually doing is adding or removing the different segments of variables. So I can pop into my chart of accounts, and remember those overall custom headings that I created? I can actually go ahead and pull those on. So I'm going to hit done. I've selected my custom headings. Maybe I want to make this a donut if I like the way it looks a little bit more. And again, we can go through and select any color we'd like it to be and show a legend. So if you wanted to go ahead and show the consolidated mix of a certain account type or certain headings, you can do that in a really quick visual way. This is super handy for visualizing the balance sheet as well. The final sort of area of consolidated reporting that I'll highlight, although you're seeing lots of visuals on the screen that are added at this group level, will just be a set of consolidated financials. So what I want to do is just show my consolidated profit and loss with each entity broken out in a side-by-side way. So here in the content library, I'm going to pop into financials by company, drop and drag this table into my report, and now I'm going to start to edit it. So let's see, a few of the things I'd like to do are maybe pop into this little drop down here and just show a profit and loss. So this is like the financial statement selector. I just want to look at the P&L. Maybe here I want to play with my level of detail, and I just want to show my headings as nice little subtotals, hiding some of that noise. Back in columns, I can actually add or remove columns. So if I don't want to show my eliminations entity, I can go ahead and do that. I can show results pre-elimination or include my eliminations in my balance check, which is really nice. And I think something that's super handy if you are viewing these reports online with a client is you can allow these to be exported straight to Excel. So you'll see here, right? We're getting the data out in a really nicely formatted way, super easily, and we're ready for sort of analysis and discussions. So I've sort of scratched the surface in terms of reporting capability. Hopefully I've inspired you to have a bit of a play, but essentially you can go ahead and add visuals, charts, and graphs at this consolidated group level within a few minutes to build out a really powerful report. Perfect. So that was sort of a deep dive into Fathom Consolidations. I'd love for you to reach out if you have additional questions or concerns, or you want to talk about your own use case. Today is consolidations within Fathom, and it's important to note that the consolidated groups are free of charge. So once you've connected those subsidiary entities, you could create 2, 3, 4 consolidated groups, perhaps in different functional currencies like USD, the pound, or the Aussie dollar, to show different stakeholders or different levels of management in different areas of the business their results in a relevant presentational currency, free of charge, which is super handy. You don't have to fiddle around with sort of Excel formulas for too long. We also offer benchmarking functionality as well. So if you do work with franchise groups, or you specialize, you have maybe a few clients that are cafes or that are car yards, you can go ahead and actually, once they're connected to Fathom, you can visualize them in our compare and rank tools that you're seeing on the screen. This is going to let you get out, a median for the group, some averages, some additional numbers that I think will really provide additional value to your clients in terms of instant insights and areas where they can work on their business. If you are interested in these benchmark tools, please get in touch. I've got a benchmarking webinar that we can send through. We can set up screen shares to help work through any of those use cases. And here's my email if you need to get in touch. We've also got support on our website, so feel free to reach out at support@fathomhq.com. And on our website there is a phone number as well if you're looking for phone support. So hopefully I showed you today how you can set up some consolidated groups, save hours in your monthly consolidated reporting cycle and get some really valuable visuals and insights out. Thanks so much for your time, everyone.